this wanted to talk about right now. You're getting a lot of different reporters. You're getting a lot of different outlets that are talking about the fate of democracy. And you and I have been working in campaigns for a very very long time, and it drives me up the wall whenever I continuously hear this is the most important election of our lifetime. This is the election that will determine the fate of our nation for the next decade or the next 100 years. Um, it's like all these doomsday scenarios that are popping up. It's like, and look, and regardless of party, it's like you elect this person and democracy will be done for. You elect this person you know and there'll be a hellhole that opens up and all of us will be drowning in this thing. And it's like you would think that our democracy is stronger than what the hell than electing an individual or two. And it's like, look at everything they said when Trump was going to was first being elected into office.
Hmm.
you know there were all these doomsday scenarios, and the economy did pretty well.
Hmm.
Gas prices were down, people had more money in their pockets, people
Interest
were
rates
buying
was
homes, people were doing
interest rates were down.
right. And even right now, when you got Joe Biden and interest rates are sky high, gas prices are higher, the cost of food and everything else has gone up, we're still functioning as a democracy. It's costing a lot more than it did before, but we're still functioning. I mean, we may be worse off financially, but I think the democracy is still there. We
Right.
still, we still have choices. We still have opportunities that are available for individuals. And so, as we enter this new election cycle coming in, or that we're going to start voting this in a couple months, it's once again all these doomsday scenarios, and for me, it just drives me up the freaking wall.
Well, every election is, what I say is this is the most important election for 2024. And then the next one will be the most important election for 2026. Uh, yeah, I mean, I think what happens, and it's especially true with the media,
Yeah,
and this is the sea change I think that you have seen from the media being reporters and investigative reporters and actual journalists to being talking heads that are trying to sell books and podcasts and everything else. That is a sea change that's taken place. And I'll go to one thing that showed that is, and it's one of the things I've said in California, the media is responsible for many of the things that happen to us in California because they do not hold Gavin Newsom and the people in
yeah,
charge his feet to the fire. And by that I mean simply asking tough questions and pursuing things. And that's why you were away, but that's why I think you saw a different kind of debate between DeSantis and Gavin Newsom than most people expected, because when they threw out facts about California, there was no answer to it. The California media needs to do that. And so instead, they get into this hype business and make it that if, Donald Trump or the Republicans become, get in charge, it's going to be the end of democracy as we know it. And,
mhm,
Sean Hannity or whoever it was asked him the question about dictator, and he gives a flip answer, and everybody freaks out. There are checks and balances in the system,
right.
number one. Number two, it's a republic. We elect people to represent us. So, what happens is the people make that decision. And I think every time the media tries to hype it up, it becomes more and more transparent that, for them, it's not, for them, it's a different a different goal. It's a different standard. Our standard is to have a fair election where one person who is eligible to vote votes one time and it's counted once. Their standard is let's make this the most important election of our lifetime and build up the hype like it's some kind of TV show and what have you. And, you know, uh, and I do think, and I don't think I'm being biased in this. I think it is because they want to make people scared of a Donald Trump presidency.
Yeah,
And I think you see it in the reporting of the primaries. to make sure that Donald Trump is the one that gets the nomination. And I think you'll see it right through the election because that's what they did in 16. That's what they did in 20. The question is going to be, is that going to be enough to overcome what you and I and everybody else listening to this faces every day, which is you can't buy a house because they can't build houses because of all of these regulations and environmental things. The interest rates are so ridiculously high that buying a car or buying a house is out of reach of most people because interest rates are now so high. They're 7 times more than what they were when Trump left office. The cost of living, whether it's energy, food, anything, is going through the
Yeah.
roof, considerably higher.
Yeah.
And that impacts everybody every day. And so what happens is, what we just talked about, the borders are open. As a result, you have less and less government services for people. You have more and more strain on government resources that results in either our taxes being raised or in other places, but California, services being cut.
Right.
That's because we have open borders and people flying in, flooding in. So all of those things are problems that we face every day and make a real difference, not just in our pockets, but in the quality of our life. Our safety, our security. Are we going to be able to retire? Are we going to be able to have,
Right.
afford our kids education and stuff like that? And I think those are going to be the paramount issues, not this media contrived thing of the end of democracy as we know it. That I don't think that's going to resonate as long as people are hurting and people are scared. And I think people are hurting and people are scared.
Yeah, and you're right. It makes for a good headline. It makes for a good, read. It's like the Inquirer, right? It's like salacious headlines,
It's not
and
even as good as TMZ. At least TMZ.
yeah, and that's what it is. But I mean, it's once again. I'm starting to see it. I'm starting to, this whole doomsday scenario, and it's bananas. But you know what? Along this area of bananas, right in the category of bananas. You mentioned something that just kind of piqued my interest. You got Cuomo, who was taken out of office because of sexual harassment. He's contemplating running for mayor, right?
Right.
Of
And
New
and
York.
at this point, because New York City has this wacko system called ranked choice voting, where basically you don't go in and vote for
Hmm.
one person, you go in and rank the people that you like, and because of that, and then you don't get to vote again. It's not like a primary, like you go in and vote for 3 people, one person wins, and then you have a general election. This thing is all at the same time. So in that kind of election or that kind of election system, they project that he could probably have enough first, second, and third place votes to win.
Wow.
And so that's I mean that's so all of these kind of things of behavior probably
Right.
is the right word for it, um, take back seats when again you're paying so much you can't get the house. I looked online the other day about a car and I was like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, the price of the car enough was bad enough, and I mean I'm looking like at a Honda here. I mean the prices. I mean I'm not looking at a John Kerry car. I mean, the price itself was bad enough. Then you start figuring the interest rate. It's like,
Yeah.
forget about it. So,
Well, maybe you got to
those
change.
things are
Maybe you
every
got to
day.
change it around, Mike. You got to change things around. Maybe you got to go like George Santos and go do the cameo thing.
I offered to do Cameo, and Cameo said no, thank you. Yes, and that's another perfect example. Now, you want to know democracy going to hell? There you go. I mean, you get a guy who's indicted. You get a guy who's completely off the wall. You get a guy who has no conscience, no morality. We used to call it in Italian a faccia, which is the face. You embarrass yourself enough that you never show your face.
Yeah.
This guy has done that in Congress, and now he makes a shitload of money on Cameo because people like John Fetterman are hiring him to bust Senator
Melendez.
Menendez's chops in New Jersey. He hires him to do a message to Bobby in New Jersey talking about Menendez's indictments. And it's like, well, there's your democracy right there. So, maybe there is some truth to that whole thing, democracy's burning. It's but
Jimmy
yeah, I
Jimmy
mean,
Fallon hired him to do 4 different videos.
did he really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and
yeah, I mean, so that's the thing
he made 175,000, I think, in 1 week
in 1 week.
from all these cameos of people just hiring him to do all these things. Hey, maybe we should hire him to say happy birthday to Julie when the birthday
Yeah,
comes
no,
up.
I don't think that I don't think that would work. But I do have a list of people, and I'm sure you do too, that I would like him to say, "Hey, you want to call this guy because he's the best guy in the world," and then watch that thing so. Bloop. Yeah, yeah. It's amazing what we have come to. There's no doubt. Everybody has their 15 minutes of fame. Everybody
Well,
has their 15 minutes of fame.
well, you got the rise of Cuomo. You got and granted, I mean, he's making all this money, but I mean, with all the lawsuits he's got pending, I'm sure. Well, I wonder what happens to those. Are those now become private lawsuits, or does he get defended by those lawsuits that he has on him?
Who?
Or now that he's got kicked out, do they go away?
Oh no, they don't go away because the lawsuits are based. The lawsuits aren't civil; they're criminal.
Oh,
They're criminal lawsuits because of mismanagement of money, spending money on things he should not have spent it on, not election, but campaign finance violations.
right.
Yeah, no, these are criminal charges that he's facing.
Okay.
So, unless he's Hunter Biden, they're not going to go away.
Yeah. Well, Mike, well,
And
let's
maybe he'll sell his suit. That's the next thing, when he gets indicted, he can sell his suit.
all right, all right,
Hey,
all right. Before we end, tell us about this suit and Donald Trump.
I, I thought I was in the know, but I wasn't. So I read this article where basically the suit that the president wore in Fulton County, Georgia, when he was arraigned, because that's the only place that's actually happened, and fingerprinted and what have you. Apparently, he's taken that suit and they've cut it up, and I'm sure it was a very expensive suit because the president doesn't wear cheap suits. He's not an off the rack kind of guy, but they cut it up and now they're selling it along with one of his electronic cards, like the ones that they sold before, that have him like riding on an eagle or lightning bolts coming out of his eyes and stuff. And they're selling it for $99. And with the card, you get a piece of his suit, like you do, like you would, like you got some grass or some infield dirt from Yankee Stadium, or something like that. So
How much?
to
How
go
much did it
back,
mean so far?
oh crap, he made, I forgot how much he made, but when he first put the cards out, they were sold like within 10 hours. I
Wow.
mean, he tripled the amount of money he invested in it in literally 10 hours.
Wow.
Um, so people will buy this. There's no doubt people will buy this stuff. I mean, so I still have the suit I wore for my first Holy Communion 48,000 years ago. Maybe I should cut that up and sell it. I don't know. It's just bizarre. I mean, look, I think democracy is fine. I just think the world is bizarre right now. That's all.
Yeah.
I,
All
I'm,
right.
I'm not sure. Maybe the climate change has knocked us out of orbit or something, but we're in a very bizarre time.
Couldn't agree with you more, Mike.
It's a
And
great time to be a comedian. That's probably the best way
oh,
to
a
put it.
lot of fodder there. Yeah. So, Mike, it's great getting together with you
Welcome
again.
home.
Thanks. Thank you.
Welcome home.
So let's end it here and
All
and
right.
until the next time.
Take care, everyone.